I was having y'all, but Rico from RicoScores, and after I finally found some time to sit down and watch these two guys, it is now time to do a breakdown on two electric running backs that the Commanders signed as undrafted free agents. One is an Austin Ekeler clone, the other one is a home run hitter. We're going to dive into both, and of course we got to dive into the running back depth chart, because do either of these guys even have like a real shot at making a 53-man roster, or are these just guys we just signed as camp bodies and we're just going to end up discarding them by the time we even get to the regular season? I'm going to break down why I feel like at least one of them actually has a pretty decent shot. And again, you know me, after watching some film, I'm also going to include some stats. We're going to really do a deep dive here. I know it's running backs, I know it's undrafted free agents, but we still got to do our thing. So before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you follow all of the social medias, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, because we post daily over there as well. Also, like I keep telling y'all in every video, I'm working on some of the notable undrafted free agents. I may just do one more video for all of the remaining undrafted free agents because I have a strong safety to talk about, a corner, a linebacker, and a defensive tackle. I may just go ahead and knock those out with one more video so we can go ahead and get to these draft picks, starting with Dominique Hampton and working our way up all the way to Johnny Newton, because I've already done Jayden Daniels and Javonte John Baptiste. So make sure you stay tuned for those individual breakdowns for each one of those draft picks as well. And without further ado, man, instead of wasting more of y'all time, let's go ahead and get to it, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with Austin Jones, because he seemed to have a little bit more notoriety than the other running back that we signed, because even Tom Pelissero tweeted about us signing USC running back Austin Jones. He said that it's a reunion with Cliff Kingsbury. That's a great point. He did. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury just came from being like a senior assistant, basically like no real title, but he was just kind of involved with the offense in a certain way. That's why we had those connections to Caleb Williams. But at the same time, Austin Jones was the running back at USC, so there is that reunion. I'm pretty sure Cliff Kingsbury is the reason that we ended up even taking a look at Austin Jones and then bringing him in. Remember, I feel like I may have talked about this in another video. Maybe I haven't yet, but, and I'm gonna definitely talk about this in one of my really fun, interesting videos that I'm working on. It'll probably come out next week. But basically, Adam Peters, walking into day 3, told every scout to vouch for one player, and then we're gonna take those into account and draft based on those evaluations. I'm pretty sure Cliff Kingsbury probably vouched for Austin Jones, and even though we didn't bring him in as like a 7th round or a 6th round draft pick, we brought him in as an undrafted free agent. Now, just to let you know, this running back room is pretty crowded right now. And who knows, are we going to keep 3? Maybe we'll keep 4. As of right now, we have 6 now that you added both of these running backs that we just signed a couple of days ago. We're going to get to that soon at the end of the video, though, when we start trying to project to see if either of these guys could potentially make the 53-man roster. It's a long shot, but you never know. So first of all, Austin Jones has a 5.88 relative athletic score. Not great, but also not terrible. And what really brings it down is his size. They think he's too short and too small at 5'9", almost 5'10", and 200 pounds. They feel like he's way undersized, but outside of that, he's actually pretty straight when you're looking around. He's pretty much just like an average athlete everywhere that you look in his scores, even though he had a really good vertical, but outside of that, wasn't anything really noticeable about him as far as being an athlete. And since 2022, he's had 218 carries for 1,166 yards, which is 5.3 yards per carry, and 12 touchdowns with 0 fumbles. Let's emphasize that. That is 0 fumbles on 218 carries. That's more than likely literally the reason that they brought him in. There's some additional reasons as to why I can make an argument why this guy's a talented running back and why he could potentially make the 53-man roster traits-wise and things like that, what he brings to the Commanders running back room. But I feel like that 0 fumbles is the thing that stuck out the most to them. Remember, that's why we ended up drafting Brian Robinson a couple of years ago. That's why I feel like we're bringing in Austin Jones, because that's like the one thing you can lay your hat on. Yeah, guys may be faster than you. Maybe guys can pass protect better than you. Maybe some guys have better vision or whatever. But when you're the guy that literally never fumbles, you're always going to be in competition. You're always going to be involved when it comes to, hey, man, we may want to consider letting this guy make the team somehow, make a spot for him. That dependability as a running back is big time. More than likely one of the main reasons the Commanders were okay with just letting Antonio Gibson go to the Patriots. They're probably trying to rid of any potential turnover creators by themselves. Like, Antonio Gibson was just a walking turnover, and it would be at the worst times too. It would be either within our own 20-yard line, so the defense is ready to score immediately, at minimum walk away with 3 points from the fumble, or it would be when we were on their 20-yard line. It looks like we're about to score, we're hype, touchdown. At worst, we're going to walk away with a field goal. Next thing you know, we walk away with 0 points. I love Antonio Gibson. I wish we kept him, but I'm pretty sure that fumble problem is one of the main reasons that they probably was just like, yeah, you can go ahead, because we're talking about ceiling. Antonio Gibson is still an athletic freak and still has loads of potential, and just imagine what Anthony Lynn could have did with him. But that fumbling problem, so again, my main point is this guy not fumbling is probably a bigger positive in his corner than some may believe. He also had 39 receptions for 384 yards since 2022. That's 9.8 yards per reception and 2 touchdowns. And he also had back-to-back seasons with at least an 80-plus rushing grade. So Pro Football Focus likes him as well. And they felt like, based on his grades, he probably shouldn't have even gone undrafted. Then you have Dane Brugler, who said Jones has an undersized build and won't push piles, but his vision, foot quickness, and pass catching skills will help him compete for a roster spot. So he also brought up the fact that he's pretty undersized and he's not that strong, but he's quick. He has some vision. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. There's something to work with right there. And to me, when you hear those traits, doesn't that sound like Austin Ekeler? Like, am I tripping? Remember, Austin Ekeler was an undrafted free agent coming out of college as well, just like Austin Jones is right now. And Austin Ekeler is not like a great athlete in any way necessarily. He's actually pretty slow, especially like these past couple of seasons. Even while he's been very productive, he hasn't been that fast. You see on tape, as much as I love Austin Ekeler and the signing of Austin Ekeler, you see him get ran down from behind a lot of the times. Like, he'll be the furthest football player on the field, the closest one to the end zone, and somebody will just hawk him down before he even gets there. But he's still balling. He's still a touchdown machine, even though he's not that quick. So let's hope that this is really just Austin's comp. And I mean, the fact that they both have the same first name and everything, there's just too many similarities to their game. I mean, first of all, they're the same height. They're the same exact weight. I think literally just a 1 pound difference when I Googled it. It's like insane. And they even have the same skin tones and everything. Like, literally, if they were both to wear like the same exact jersey, same jersey number, same helmet and all of that, with no name on the back of the jersey, good luck figuring out which one is which. Like, it's actually really crazy how much of a clone he is of Austin Ekeler. Athleticism, build, look, again, even down to the skin tone almost. It's crazy. Also, just to let you know, there is an interesting connection, because even outside of Cliff Kingsbury, Austin Jones also spent the majority of his collegiate career at Stanford under current Commanders quarterback coach Tavita Pritchard, who was the then offensive coordinator at Stanford while he was there. So, first of all, of course, shouts out my dog, Resh Manuel, right there. You already know he's bringing the random, did you know, fun facts, background information, random connections, and things like that. Y'all already know where that stuff comes from at this point. But there goes 2 relatively strong connections to Austin Jones and how he potentially ended up being signed as an undrafted free agent. Now let's move on. The Washington Commanders also went out and signed Arizona running back Michael Wiley. And this one's an interesting one right here, because even though Austin Jones, who we just finished breaking down, has the better overall surface stats, like the general stats, like how many yards total, Michael has the better deeper stats, like per carry, per catch, and things like that. And we'll get to that soon. But also, most importantly, the reason that I'm really excited about Michael Wiley is that he's the better athlete as well. Remember, Austin Jones had a 5.88 relative athletic score. Michael Wiley has an 8.02. Now, granted, he doesn't have any agility stuff in his, so who knows if it should be higher or if it should be lower. But based off of the information that we have, and if you just literally watch the tape, he does look faster and more explosive than Austin Jones. So this is the guy with the higher ceiling, more athleticism. We'll get to that soon. First of all, though, when we're talking about just 2022 isolated by itself, 778 rushing yards, which is 6.9 yards per carry, which is, again, higher than Austin Jones. Like I said, Austin Jones has the surface stats. He has more yards overall, from what I believe. But, like, per carry efficiency, that boy Michael Wiley has it. Again, 6.9 yards per carry to Austin Jones's 5.3 yards per carry. And then he also had a 93.2 rushing grade. Pro Football Focus feels like he's one of the best running backs in all of football back in 2022, though. Not 2023, but back in 2022, they felt like he should have been like that guy going into the 2023 season. And he also had 8 rushing touchdowns. And another guy, notice a pattern, 0 fumbles. Those are 2 guys that do not fumble the ball. That is big time, at least 2022-wise. My boy Michael Wiley never fumbled the ball. I'm pretty sure that is not a coincidence that both of the undrafted free agent running backs that we brought in do not fumble. The only other running back they brought in is technically converting the tight end. He doesn't really count. He also had 36 receptions for 349 yards, 9.3 yards per reception, and 3 receiving touchdowns. Also, Dane Brugler, you already know he has a breakdown for every and anybody who ever even touched the football. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow has an evaluation of me out there. He said Wiley doesn't have the consistency that NFL coaches desire, but his short area burst and vision are translatable traits, and his receiving instincts can be what separates him on an NFL depth chart. He will provide third down value in the right situation. And a 49ers analyst also did a breakdown on him, saying 5'10", 210 pounds, 4.5 speed, 70 carries in 2023, 111 carries, and 6.9 yards per carry in 2022. Again, that was his best season. If you just go back and look at his 2022 tape, you're like, there's no way this guy goes undrafted in 2 years, right? It's crazy. He also has 123 career receptions, so he's very seasoned as far as being a receiving back. And then the 49ers analyst also said great in the screen game, big time. I know Cliff Kingsbury would love that. He follows blocks and fights through contact, very positive, and he's a good pass protector. And then the only thing that he said is that he wishes that he was more decisive. So that's something you can coach up. I feel like the other things are either just not coachable or they're harder to coach than as far as being decisive. We can work on that. We can coach that up. We can drill you. I mean, if anybody can find it deep within somebody to bring out the potential in a running back, it's Anthony Lynn. So I'm very optimistic about all of these guys. So basically, the Austin Ekeler clone essentially has the higher floor in Austin Jones, and then he's basically the more consistent and dependable. But then now who we're talking about currently, Michael Wiley, is the more flashy, higher ceiling guy that when he's on, he looks better, but he may not necessarily be the more consistent guy. And I like that we brought in 2 different guys in that way, because they're both receiving backs, but at least we brought in one that has like a relatively high floor, decent floor, and another guy with a relatively high ceiling that we can, try to develop and see what's going on. Because right now, Austin Ekeler today is probably better and more playable. But Michael has the potential to be the better running back in the long run. So that's why I like making sure that we, try to hit this from every angle possible. Get the guy that's better now. Get the guy that may be better in the long run. See who ends up winning out. See if the guy that can eventually be better in the long run can become better sooner rather than later, and then now you ended up with the better running back. But at the same time, it's nice to get a guy like Austin Jones with a certain floor, so that if you need to depend on somebody today, you know that you have a guy that can go out there and give you exactly what you need him to do. And again, I mean, his comparisons to Austin Ekeler are just absolutely insane in every way. It's like literally an Austin Ekeler clone, undrafted free agent and all. And in this day and age, I'm not exactly sure why a team didn't find it worth it to draft Michael Wiley at least in like the 7th round. And I'm not about to sit here and act like every undrafted free agent that the Commanders have gotten this offseason is just this huge steal or something. But with Michael's ability to break tackles, catch the ball, and outrun people to reach the end zone, it just seems a little weird or unlucky that he ended up going just completely undrafted. I'm not necessarily saying that this is like very likely that he's to make the 53-man roster or something like that, but you would think at least one team out there needs a guy like this with the profile that he has and the traits that he brings to the table. I'm telling you, go watch his highlights. You'll for sure walk out like, man, with the good O-line and a good offensive coordinator, why wouldn't this guy go crazy at the NFL level? Like, I'm telling you, just go try it. Just go watch the highlights. And I know at the very least you'll have fun watching the highlights, even if you don't walk away feeling like he's a potentially great running back. Very exciting highlights, man. Some real highs. But of course, this highlights is not the all 22 tape where you also get to see his lows. But like I mentioned earlier, there's still some inconsistencies. So I'm not trying to act like we just found this ultimate hidden gem. Oh, wow, we found like a future first round running back somehow as an undrafted free agent is going to come in and dominate. I'm not saying that, but again, when you see his highlights, instead of watching his every down tape like his all 22 film, you definitely get excited about what he could at the very least become if we get that more consistently. And again, this is a league that loves pass catching running backs, so I'm very surprised that teams aren't higher on him, and the fact that he somehow slipped all the way out of even the 7th round. But then again, the problem that both of these guys, and really even my two really good Georgia Bulldog running backs, and Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton, fell victim to as far as going undrafted, was that the running back position is being devalued at a drastic rate right now. I mean, their stock has plummeted. Like, if this were 15 minutes ago, you could literally move every running back drafted or signed as undrafted free agents up at least a round or two. Literally, like a running back that went in the 4th round in this year's draft that just happened a few days ago would have probably have gone 2nd round or higher 15 years ago. We don't even have to go a whole 15 years ago. How about before Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley scared teams out of giving running backs big long-term contracts? I mean, you could argue they single-handedly, between those two guys as a duo, devalued the running back position after they signed those big-time contracts and were balling up to the point that they signed those contracts, and then injuries took over and they were never the same immediately afterwards. And the Rams felt stupid for giving Todd Gurley all that money, and the Cowboys for sure felt stupid for giving Ezekiel Elliott all of that money. Of course, there's a lot of other factors as to why the running back position is devalued, because, I mean, you got guys like this that you can just sign off the street as undrafted free agents. Why would I spend a draft pick on a guy when I can just wait till after the draft? Somebody will be out there that's relatively, has some decent traits, is fairly productive, like Austin Jones and Michael Wiley. But I think honestly, Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley definitely burned the running back value across the NFL, man. So my point is, even though these two running backs are undrafted free agents, I blame the position they play more than I actually blame their talent, ability, and tape. So all in all, we may have landed two pretty good backs, but who knows? We'll see, because looking at the Commanders roster right now it's time to take a look at this depth chart and see what's going on. Can these guys actually make the team? Right now, your two primary running backs are Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler. For sure, right? Then you have Chris Rodriguez as like a backup that's like kind of in the Brian Robinson, in between the tackles, run people over mode, fight for extra yards type of thing. Then you have Jeremy McNichols as the Austin Ekeler pass catching 3rd down back type of mode. So you have 2 running backs for each mode, basically. And that's 4 running backs already. There's a chance that we only keep 3 as far as who's going to make the 53-man roster. So in order to do that, Michael Wiley, Austin Jones, for you to make the 53-man roster, you'll have to probably jump both C-Rod and Jeremy McNichols in the depth chart. At the very least, Jeremy McNichols, you're going to have to out-compete one another. One of y'all's going to have to beat the other guy out, but between the two of y'all as undrafted free agents, and you're also going to have to, at minimum, beat out Jeremy McNichols, who was just signed here as a very cheap free agent. It's not like they signed him to a contract where it's like, man, if we cut him when we get to the 53-man roster cuts, it's like, what were they thinking? I'm pretty sure most of y'all probably even forgot that we signed Jeremy McNichols, and somebody in the Commanders organization probably already forgot as well. Adam Peters probably looked at the depth chart like, oh yeah, we did get him, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I'm betting on this guy. He's just like this surefire guy that's going to be tough to pass in the depth chart. But I'm just letting you know, if they keep 3 running backs, not only you're going to have to pass him, but maybe even Chris Rodriguez, but maybe they keep 4, and then all you got to do is pass Jeremy McNichols. Who knows? But again, not saying it's impossible or anything, but again, I just named 2 future starters right there, basically, in Austin Ekeler and Brian Robinson. They're going to get a lot of the carry, a lot of the utility and the usage rate. And so it is kind of like a tall mountain to climb, but It is possible, though. I do want to emphasize like that because I feel like at worst, at least between Austin and Michael, at least one of them will at least make the practice squad at the very least, and then, you know, be able to delay the amount of time that they have to prove themselves to earn like an actual 53-man roster spot. And, you know, the running back position gets hurt left and right, so they may just be one injury away from a phone call. You never know. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler somehow play all 17 games this upcoming season, but we all know that's not very likely. And again, Jeremy McNichols is not somebody we're excited to see go out there for any reason whatsoever. But again, I like Michael's talent to where maybe he can surpass Jeremy McNichols on the depth chart and even force them to keep 4. Hopefully, maybe even before we're done with training camp. Who knows? I like Michael's ceiling way more than I like Jeremy's, first of all. But Jeremy has been in the league for years, and that experience gives him a big advantage right now as far as knowing what coaches are specifically asking for. Most notably, pass protection-wise, from a running back position. Yeah, he comes in with a little bit of pass protection skill set, but the main thing is, if he can improve in pass protection, he can grasp that concept very quickly, work on his technique there because he has the strength. And then the coaches can, you know, start to trust him to block for our new franchise quarterback that we just spent a number 2 overall draft pick for. Then he does have a real shot of actually making this 53-man roster. But you got to get that down. There's no way, especially as an undrafted free agent, if you can't pass protect, you're not making this 53-man roster. That's first and foremost, because why would we even want you on the field at the same time that Jayden Daniels is out there? We just use a 2nd overall pick for him. We're hoping he's our franchise quarterback for the next 10, 15 plus years. Please, can you at least be able to go out there and protect that man, pick up a potential edge rusher or blitzing linebacker or blitzing DB, whatever. So that's very important. I feel like that's one of the main things we need to watch throughout this offseason as we get to training camp and things like that. Where are Austin Jones and Michael Wiley as far as their pass protection? Because that's going to be big time. So again, you just heard me say basically a lot of ifs, but I think there is an honest shot for at least one of them to potentially make the 53-man roster, more so than anything else, because Jeremy McNichols is just not that good. Not even necessarily like Austin Jones and Michael Wiley. Oh, their talent is undeniable or something like that. It's just because if you really go look at Jeremy McNichols' tape, if you go take a look at his stats and Pro Football Focus scores, you may even question why we even signed the guy in the first place. So, I mean, I'm not trying to hate on him, but I just feel like Austin Jones and Michael Wiley just also bring a certain ceiling and just a certain level of excitement with their youth just now entering the NFL. I mean, if anybody wants it, if anybody's going to work as hard as anybody else, is those two. I truly believe that one of those guys can eventually surpass Jeremy McNichols on the roster spot. And so then from there, you got to hope that they keep 4. But it may all be all for nothing. Maybe we only keep 3 running backs. And I'm pretty sure, unless there's an injury, neither of these two guys, even as much as I like Austin Jones and Michael Wiley, really have a shot at making the 53-man roster if we only keep 3 guys. I highly doubt it. Unless Chris Rodriguez goes back out there and starts fumbling. And again, it seems like they really covered a running back that you don't have to worry about fumbling, with both of the guys they brought in never fumbling in the past. Well, I know at least back in Michael Wiley's best season in 2022, he never fumbled. In the past 2 years, Austin Jones never fumbled as well. If Chris Rodriguez goes out there fumbling like he has done a couple of times in games, it may be a wrap for him that way. But if he just stays steady, doesn't fumble, it's a long shot for either of these guys to make the 53-man roster. But you never know. Maybe one, maybe even both of them land on the practice squad, and then that gives them more time to show what they can do, improve as running backs, and maybe eventually force the Commanders to be like, you know what? I mean, Chris Rodriguez, he's not fumbling. He's a bulldozer, showing some vision. We don't want to cut him. So maybe we're just going to have to take a roster spot from another position group and bring up Austin Jones or Michael Wiley because they just look that good. It may not happen by the time week 1 starts. It may not even happen in this rookie season, but I can see them sticking around for like a year or two and then eventually carving out a spot on this roster eventually. Not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, though. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned because, again, soon after this one, starting tomorrow, I'll probably just go ahead and knock out all of the remaining undrafted free agents, give them each like a little bit of shine in one big video, and then we're right back to the draft picks, and then I'll eventually do my full draft review and grade for the overall draft. I know I just already did a video showing y'all how the rest of the media thinks, but I may feel differently. I see a lot of B pluses to all the way up to A pluses. let me see how I feel about it. I'll give you my own grade and things like that, and I'll probably grade each day, then I'll give like an overall grade at the end as well. And I have a lot of creative idea videos that I want to do as well too. Like my dog Ivory put me onto a great idea where we look at every position group from 2023 to what we have in 2024 projection wise, and we try to see, did we upgrade or downgrade, which position groups we upgraded and downgraded at, and things like that. So I have a lot of video ideas on the way and things like that. And of course, again, we got to knock out these draft picks, but all of that other fun stuff is on the way after we knock out those individual videos for those draft picks. And again, I already have all of my notes ready. I've already watched the tape, already have all of the stats. It's just literally sitting down, finding the time to record and edit, because I just have so many other things in the way. And I mean, I haven't even been home that much, just been busy with a lot of random stuff. So stay tuned, it's on the way. I appreciate the patience. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Of course, like, let me know how you feel about these two running backs in Austin Jones and Michael Wiley. Do you feel like either of them, or maybe even both of them, actually have a real shot at making a 53-man roster? And if you do, what is the pathway? What is the trait that they're bringing to the table that the Commanders may covet? Or do you just see it as like a situation where Jeremy McNichols is really not that good, and maybe they keep 4 running backs and those guys have a fairly decent path to actually making a 53-man roster that way? Let me know how you feel about all of that. Of course, I really appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all stay tuned for more content. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.